Being alone is probably one of the most terrifying things in the world. Being alone in a house, being alone in an old building, being alone even outside. It gives you an uneasy feeling. It gives you a sense of dread. Gives you a sense that someone, maybe, possibly, is always watching you. Behind the corner, behind a tree. You never know who's truly out there, and the thought and idea behind that is the most terrifying. Which comes into the tale of today, which I would like to also point out to people a trigger warning, but I'll come back to that in just a second. But with the idea of this concept is a very terrifying thought, a very terrifying idea that what should we fear that isn't there? What if what we fear is truly invisible? Hey guys, before we get any further in this review, I would like to just point out a little bit of a trigger warning before we really get down into the nitty gritty of this. This movie had to deal with abuse, the form of abuse of yes, an abusive relationship, also a controlling abusive relationship. It also deals with a little bit of child abuse. Not gonna sugarcoat that one. Just a small scene of it, but if you blinked, you probably would miss it. And also the depiction and the idea of rape. Yeah. Or being sexually controlled by someone. Yeah. So if anyone had went through this, if anyone did not feel comfortable watching this, I completely understand as I'm watching out for all of you guys. I just really want to do this review and talk about this movie because of how much it pretty much impressed me, truthfully. Um, and I get it. I get it. I was someone that was in an abused, controlled relationship. I get it. If you're not comfortable with watching the rest of this review, it's perfectly fine. Just wanted to come in here and point it out to you guys. So, if you want to click off the video and watch one of my other ones, feel free to. With that all said and done, please still enjoy the review. And if you don't feel comfortable with watching, that's okay. You can come back when you're ready, or you don't have to. It's completely your choice. But still, please enjoy the review of the following review of The Invisible Man 2020. Thank you so much for listening, and let's get on with the review already in process. Greetings, geeks and nerds, and lazy nerds, and white. Greetings, ghouls and goblins, and lazy nerds, and white and nerdy, and more Lazyween continued. Remember when I said we'll be taking a look at a remake that more or less can be considered a remake? Well, that goes true of The Invisible Man. Not part of Universal's Monsterverse that they tried with the Mummy and failed, but more or less kind of a remake of the basically cult classic Quad Range movie. The Invisible Man, for those of you that don't know, is a movie about a doctor who accidentally turned himself invisible, but at first he becomes traumatized by it. Then he becomes delighted in becoming pretty much a monster that people should fear. It's a pretty decent movie if you have seen it. I read the short story back when I was in high school. My high school teacher, can't remember her, Miss Riley. Shout out to Miss Riley if she happened to stumble across this. I don't know why she would, but she was the one that basically stumbled out to me and said, why don't you read the short story or the story in general? And it was pretty decent. And I've never seen the Claude Rains movie, so yeah. Like I said, at some point we're gonna have to have a Universal Monster Marathon, Lazyween, just for me to do. So, but we're taking a look at the 2020 version, the version that a lot of people really do like and called one of the best. It even has a pretty good rating on Rotten Tomatoes, I think either a 98 or a 96%, which, in all honesty, is a pretty good rating. But, what do I think about The Invisible Man? Well, why don't we jump on in to the 2020 version of The Invisible Man and see just why you should fear what isn't there. As the movie begins, we are introduced to our main character, Cecilia, who wants to run away from her abusive boyfriend, Adrian, who just so happens to control her. as this is her day of escape. She had this all planned out, all ready to go, all theorizing how this should play out in her head, and for the moment everything goes well. However, that is until she runs into her doggy, Zeus, who just so happens to want to go with her, and while trying to save him, the dog activates the car alarm.
Nope, that did not land right at all.
The noise awaits Adrian, but Cecilia still manages to escape the longtime captor and manages to run away far away. She meets up with her older sister until Adrian magically appears and is angry, so angry that he smashes out the sister's window trying to get at Cecilia. After that horrifying event, Cecilia is left shattered. She is no longer the woman that she once was, can't even remember the past woman that she was before she met Adrian. For the moment, she's staying with James and his daughter Sydney, who seem to be taking very good care of her, until she gets some very distressing news. Her sister comes by and tells her that Adrian is dead, but her sister at the point doesn't believe it, until she shows Cecilia the truth that yes, he's dead. As Cecilia finally realized that she might for once be free of Adrian and his tomb, be free from his touch and his grasp on her and his control on her. As she ends up getting a letter from Adrian's brother, who happens to be a lawyer, saying that she must go and claim what is hers that Adrian left for her. As she is granted $300 million, a great sum, and including getting $10,000 a week for the rest of her life, so she tries to make the best of it. Trying to create a new life for herself, she goes to a job interview, where she hopes that everything goes well, until everything for her sadly goes south.
Just not feeling. Would you like some water? Cecilia?
Somehow, in some way, Cecilia ends up drugged. She doesn't even realize or remember how that she got drugged, but passes it off at first like it's nothing. That is until she discovers a pill bottle that she left behind, diazepam, which just so happened to have blood on it, and it's not just anyone's blood, it's Adrian's blood. Convinced that he's still alive, she goes and sees Adrian's brother, along with James, but James tells her the truth that yes, Adrian truly is gone. Looking for some comfort, Cecilia goes to see her sister, who tells her just to go and fuck off and go straight to hell after the email she left her. And after doing some research, she finds the email, but she didn't send it. A message all about how she's suffocating her and how she should have died instead of their parents.
That is evil.
Sydney hears Cecilia crying upset on the floor, as she decides to be a good friend and to try and comfort her and attend to her needs as best as she can. As Sydney mentions, perhaps they should kick Dad out of the house. Perhaps maybe that they should just rule the house and have a girls' night out, as Cecilia seemed intrigued by the idea. As everything seemed to be going well for the two of them, that is until somehow Sydney is slapped by an unseen force and hurt pretty damn hard. As James blames Cecilia, especially for her current mental state. James will not hear of it, he will not have it, and he is sick and tired of it as he wants Cecilia out. Until Cecilia does some investigating, so she goes up into the attic where she thinks that Adrian might be hiding out inside of James' old household. Up in the attic, she manages to find Adrian's old cell phone, which she believes that Adrian had truly left behind. But she also happens to find something more than just photographs of her sleeping. As Cecilia is now 110% convinced that Adrian is truly alive, while wearing a physically optical suit that he invented. As Cecilia is ended up attacked by Adrian, as she cannot see the unseen force attacking her, but she knows that he's there, and now she can convince the world. She goes back to the place it all started, straight back to Adrian's house, where she knows that another suit is there, another suit where she can have proof. As yes, indeed, Adrian invented an optical suit that would render the wearer invisible, as she is now convinced that Adrian is wearing this suit and haunting her. As the first person that she tried to convince is her older sister, who she, as you remember, doesn't have a fond relationship with after the email incident. So the two do their best to try to reconnect, especially Cecilia saying how much she misses her attitude, and misses her protecting her from anything that could harm her. As the sisters have a beautiful reunion as they try to make things work, something ends up happening that none of them could have foreseen. Something sweet and sinister. As well as being at a hospital, getting ready to be signed into a psychiatric ward, she ends up being told that she's pregnant, and she's just a few months short of her pregnancy. As Cecilia is left in shock, she cannot believe that Adrian got close to her, and possibly while she was asleep in Sydney's bed, raped her. As Adrian's brother comes along and tells her that the money will be going since she committed such a heinous act, but he'll make her a deal. She can keep everything as long as she has Adrian's baby. As Monica tells Adrian's brother to fuck off, as he suddenly again plans to escape from the mental institution. Escape in the means of suicide, but that's not until Adrian stops her from doing such an act, that now she has him exactly straight where she wants him. The hospital scene is probably my favorite scene in the entire movie, and it is just utter chaos as Adrian just comes in and murders everyone. Adrian escapes with Cecilia hot on his tail, and so he attacks her home and tries to kill Sydney while she's asleep as James comes home to spoil his fun. But Adrian knew that he was coming and thus attacked James, almost killing him and perhaps maybe giving him a cracked skull as well as a good concussion. As Cecilia returns home with a fire extinguisher, and also she's packing heat as she's ended a few shots inside of Adrian's chest for good measure, killing the monster forever. That is until she pulls off the mask, and it just so happens to be Adrian's brother inside, her being very confused about what the hell happened and how she killed him. As James tells her, the police found Adrian trapped in his own basement and according probably beaten by his own brother, but Cecilia won't buy it. However, to protect the people that she's come to know and love, she makes one final plan in her head. One final plan to rid the world of the evil of Adrian. So she agrees to have dinner with him as he admits the truth that yes, Adrian was abused by his own younger brother, which seems impossible to be believed. As Cecilia believes that this is nothing more than an act for Adrian, as he's been pulling on acts for her for about as long as she's been with him, so she doesn't buy it. As Cecilia goes to the bathroom, Adrian realizes that he has her right where he wants her. Or does she? As Cecilia has one final trick up her sleeve. As strangely enough, dying in the pool of his own blood, Cecilia returns from her bathroom break, screaming in terror and calling a rescue squad to help out Adrian. As Cecilia revealed, it was her in the suit all along, and she made it look like Adrian slit his throat and committed suicide like he did at the beginning. And so our movie ends with Cecilia, now a free woman, long away from the claws of Adrian, as she will never have to worry about being in the claws of an abusive man ever again. Now, here's where the movie kind of gets a little diverse with the ending. So what exactly happened? Was it truly Adrian's plan? Was Adrian's brother really abusing him? Or was this all staged just to get Cecilia to go back to him, as he is completely obsessed with her? My theory is that Adrian probably did not plan this, but maybe it was a plan that went his way. Maybe, yes, his brother did end up abusing him, and yes, maybe his brother did trap him in his basement. But I like to believe Cecilia's idea. Adrian's way too smart for this, especially for a man who is an optical genius who makes a suit that turns its wearer invisible seemed too clever to make something just get happen like that. So I'd like to think that he made two suits, one for him and one for his brother, then his brother acted Cecilia while he pretended to be captured and also abused, so he could end up basically having an attachment to Cecilia, who looked straight through that bullshit and ended Adrian's life once and for all. And I do love Elizabeth Moss as Cecilia. She is such a great actress, and during this movie, she walks the line of "I'm going crazy" to "I'm going to beat this monster" continuously, and she is a fine example of a woman who went through her trauma and ended out drawn on top. This was a stellar performance by her all the way around. As I will admit, I was going to put this on my best contenders list for best movies, and then suddenly after I rewatched it, it jumped right up into my top 10 favorites. So, with that all said and done, do I recommend The Invisible Man? Yes, it's great. It's shocking, and it's a wonderful psychological horror thriller that you should see to be believed. Especially if you are ever curious about, is there something really hiding in the corner, or isn't there? It's something to be believed, and it is such a horrifying thriller. And I must say, while going back and rewatching it, it did happen to blow me away. That is why my Funko Pop rating of The Invisible Man 2020 gets an Inuyasha. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified every single time I make an upload. Be sure to do all the YouTube thing by liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, share this video around the web, and join me at Twitter with the link in the description down below. And tell me what you thought about The Invisible Man 2020 in the comments down below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Or have you seen it yet? And have I convinced you to go and see it? Let me know in the comments down below as well, as I was pretty much impressed that I would like this movie, even giving it a second try. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be the never type partner to keep you on, and you know how we've been having a pretty good Lazyween so far? We covered the birds, the blob, we covered Abigail, Helsing, Five Nights at Freddy's, The Invisible Man. Now, unfortunately, my children, we must cover some shit. Yes, with every Halloween, it probably is a good time that I review a couple of horror movies that I couldn't stand. The next one is considerably a horror movie, just like with the Dark Shadows that I tried to review. So come back next time for a horrifying love story, and a very, very, very bad love story at that. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Lazy Universe. I want to keep it on. And until next time, guys, and as always, take care and stay spooky. So, because get ready to laugh, because bad Halloween horror movies are incoming.